Information Systems from Boston University. Came down here to Tampa back in 1980s, so I have been in Tampa or Plant City or Lakeland for most of my life. Love it down here. I went to work for Arthur Anderson, where I met my husband. His name is Jim. We moved to Plant City. I started working actually after I left consulting. I went to work for Watson Clinic here in Lakeland, and I was in charge of their IT department for about 13 years. I left and when they downsized, and we adopted our son, Jake. At that time, we had 2 daughters. Joni was 11, Jesse was 8. We adopted Jake when he was 4. And at that point, I stayed home with him until he started kindergarten. Then I went to work for Publix supermarkets. I just retired from Publix in June of this year. So I was in charge of their IT delivery manager area, which had to do with human resources and time tracking and scheduling. It was the 3rd largest project on the corporate business plan for Publix supermarkets, which is a huge organization. The budget for that one project was larger than the entire department at Watson Clinic, and it was very stressful. I would go to work and be stressed out, then I would come home and I would deal with my son Jake, which would stress me out, which is why I ended up going into residential real estate. Brooks Chandler is a real person. She is now in her 80s. She was the administrator in charge of Watson Clinic South when I was the director in charge of information technology. I knew that she had retired and she had gone into residential real estate. I called Brooks up one day and I said, Brooks, I'm ready for a change. Tell me about residential real estate. And she said, well, if you think this is going to give you control over your hours, control over your clients, and control over your life, you are sadly mistaken. She said, it is a great opportunity. She says, I love doing what I do. Yes, you have some flexibility in your hours, but it will consume you if you allow it, because you are your own manager, you are your own boss, and you are now responsible to all of your own clients. Most of you in this room probably experience the same thing. How many of you feel like because you are a business owner, you now have more control over your life? Okay, thank you. So, one of the things that I love about residential real estate is the fact that I deal directly with clients, okay? Now, Petra has the residential real estate seat in this group, so I need to talk about investments, and that is my specialty. There were many years ago, I ran into this video from a man called Fan Merrill. He was a pro football player turned real estate entrepreneur before the recession. And he said something that affected me. He said, most people earn money only while they're working. Do you all earn money just while you're working? Probably.
No.
The difference between wealth and income. Wealth is built when you have assets that are working for you, okay? So we can all go to work, we all have earning potential, but that potential is limited by our physical capacity to engage in some kind of physical or mental activity that generates dollars while we are working. So let's talk about how you can get assets to work for you. Jeff knows how to do this. You have lots of them working for you. He does real estate in a very sophisticated way, I'm going to say. But we all know this principle because we all invest in certain ways. We have bank accounts. So you put principal in a bank account, what do you earn on it? You earn on it interest, or you earn dividends, correct? Okay, so we know that principle. Now, first of all, we have to put investing in residential real estate into some kind of a context, because I'm never going to tell somebody the first day out that that's how you're going to earn your retirement money. Don't do it. How many of you have ever worked for an organization, or your spouse has worked for an organization that has a 401k plan? Okay? Number one thing to do when you work for an organization that has a 401k plan, participate. If that 401k plan pays you a percentage of whatever you invest in that plan, if they give you free money, you ought to be taking advantage of that. If you are not taking advantage of that, you're just not making wise decisions. That is free money. That is the first thing every person should do if they have the opportunity to invest in a 401k plan. For those of you in this room who are paid on a 1099, how many of you have what's called a SEP IRA plan? Okay, if you are eligible to put money into a SEP IRA, you need to talk to Christina. You need to do it, because that is another way to take money and get it away from the government, who wants to take all of your money, and save a little bit of it for yourself. It's not me, right? Okay. So, Now that you have money that is consistently going to some kind of long-term investment that's going to grow and get managed responsibly to hopefully give you some kind of financial viability when you go into retirement. Now let's say that you have some residual cash or you've got some savings that you want to put to work for you, okay? Now, why put it in residential real estate instead of putting it in gold or bonds or mutual funds, okay? Good question. Because they are great vehicles for growing wealth. Everybody should have some of that. But if you still have some residual income, and you still have some desire to look at residential real estate, it is a great option. And why? Because residential real estate is the one area where banks will give you money so that you can purchase this vehicle that will then grow and not only appreciate, but also give you additional income. And you have these wonderful people called tenants who are going to help you pay off.
They are
that.
wonderful.
They're wonderful. They will help you, hopefully you have good tenants, who will help you pay off that loan. So for example, let's say that you have $100,000 that you want to spend, and you want to buy a house. You're going to put it to work for you. You're going to put tenants in it. They're going to give you $1,000 per month. Okay? If you spend $100,000 on the house, you're getting $1,000 a month. You're going to make what? You're going to make 12% interest, right? Pretty straightforward. Let's say you take that same $100,000. Let's say you only spend $20,000 of it on a down payment. You have the bank come up with the other $80,000. Okay? Your annual debt service, your mortgage payment per year is going to be about $7,400. You have your annual cash flow then is $4,600. Don't fall asleep, Wade. And your return is now 23%. Okay? So you're leveraging somebody else's money, and your tenants are actually paying off the loan. So that's a really good opportunity for those people who think that they want to get into residential real estate, right? Great investment, right?
Yes. Right.
Not always. So, residential real estate investing is not for everybody. There are some really great advantages, but there are also some disadvantages. Let's say that you have a setback and you need to go ahead and get your money out of that investment. I can't just call Kevin and say, Kevin, I need to go ahead and cash in that Fidelity investment account that I started or whatever. When you're trying to sell residential real estate, it is not a quick sell all the time. Even if I can get you a contract over a weekend, which we have been doing right now in this market, you put your house on the market at the right price, I can get you a contract in 3 days. It's crazy. But even if I get you a contract in 3 days, you're not going to close until the title work is done, and then you got to pay me in order to sell the house, because these, sack-sucking realtors who take, your seller's money to sell a house, and they don't do any work because they can sell it in 3 days. That's going to take some of your money, and it's going to take time. So residential real estate, although it grows and appreciates, at least right now it is, over the long haul, and because tenants are helping you pay off that debt, and so you're actually purchasing something with somebody else's money. It's a great investment. It is not liquid. You can't just get rid of it tomorrow. You can't get a check out of it tomorrow. Not going to happen. So that's one disadvantage of residential real estate. The other thing is, not everybody is cut out to be a property manager. How many people like to go to people and they say, give me your money, give me your money, give me your money. Oh, but my kids don't have any clothes on their backs. They don't have any, thing to eat at school. You can't take my money this month because I'm having a bad month. Okay, how many of you can say, I don't care, you need to give me the money or I'm going to put an eviction notice on your door and I'm going to kick you out with your 3 kids? How many of us can do that? I can't do that. So I have to have a property manager, so now it's going to cost me money in order to have that house, because somebody has got to help collect that rent and to manage all of that. So there's another disadvantage of residential real estate. And the third, maybe taxes. I don't know what your tax situation is. Never, ever, ever get into any significant investment without talking to Kevin and without talking to Christina, because they can tell you for your specific situation how that investment is going to affect you personally and your long-range plans. You've got to have a plan. You've got to have a way of understanding what the tax implications are of any kind of investment that you make, especially when it's residential real estate. So anyway, my time is about up. Wanted to open it up to any questions, if anybody has any questions for me. Done. Thank you very much.